It is the leading membership association for the project management profession. It was established in 1969 and it is a global organization headquartered in Pennsylvania, USA. And worldwide it has got around 550,000 plus members worldwide in over 200 countries. So basically you would also be a member when you take the exam, because you have to first take the membership, and you will, during the course of your profession, you will continue to be active member to keep abreast of the latest project management practices. So PMI is actively engaged in advocacy for the profession, and it is an organization which is setting professional standards, conducting research, and providing access to a wealth of information and resources, so which is happening through the online forum of the practicing project managers. It also promotes career and professional development and offers certification, networking, and community involvement opportunities for the members. So it advocates best practices in project portfolio and program management. So just like you have associations of chartered accountants or doctors to propagate the best practices in their professions. So there are certain PMP and PMI terminologies. So PMP is project management professional and PMI is the project management institute. So PMI, as you can understand, it's an organization, and the PMP is a certification. PMI conducts PMP examination. PMP certification is valid for 3 years. So PDO is professional development unit and PMBOK is the project management body of knowledge. So PMBOK is a practical handbook for the project managers. The current version which is being used for this training is version 5 and which was released in January 2013. Okay, and you can visit the site pmi.org for more information. So to understand that what is the total understanding of the PMI as an organization. So this is a little bit of history, that how it all started since 1969, as you can see. So a lot of things happened, and the first PMBOK was basically released on in 1987, and since then there has been an upgradation every 3 years, 4 years almost. Okay, and the current version, that is the 5th edition, so that is the 2013. It was released in January and it has got around 5 additional processes. So the processes, so they are basically part of the total project management. So the total project management is divided into process group. So we will go through that in a short while. So this is the certification list of the certifications which are currently available from PMI. Okay, so we are focusing on the project management professional, so that is the PMP, and you can later on go in for program management or risk management or scheduling professional certifications as well later. So these are the steps to the certification. First of all, you have to attend the PMP workshop which you are doing right now. Then after this training is over, you have to become a PMI member. So the registration, online registration is free of cost, but when you become a member, you have to pay for the membership, which is approximately around $139. So that includes the $10 for the local chapter membership as well. Okay, then you have to submit your exam application. So the application process would be explained at the end of the training, and you then, after getting the OK or the approval from the PMI, you have to go, you have to go to the Prometric website and book a time slot for yourself for the PMP certification examination, and then you have to pass the exam. So after the exam is passed, so you will get your certification. So this certification will be valid for the 3 years, and within the 3 years you will strive to achieve 62 PDOs, and so that you can keep the certification valid. Okay, this is the importance of the PMP. It is a globally recognized project management certification, and this is recognized in all domains and all industries where the work is done in a projectized fashion. This is even recognized by the many governments of the world, even the government of India. So there is worldwide recognition of your knowledge of project management, and it demonstrates a proof of professional achievement. It improves the way you manage your projects, and it increases your marketability, of course, because if you have done this certification, so it tells a lot about you to your potential employer, that you can handle the projects in a manner in which a greater success is guaranteed. It displays your willingness to pursue growth in your field of work. It increases customer confidence, and in my experience, I've seen in many projects that there are US-based customers, those who actually ask for a PMP certified project manager to be provided for their projects. And it is valued globally across industry verticals and companies. So let us look at the certification examination. So this is the breakup. The examination has 200 questions which has to be answered within a time span of 240 minutes. So that is 4 hours. So your break time is inclusive of this 4 hours. So it is up to you how much time you want to spare for the breaks. Now the questions are distributed like this. A project is basically managed in five process groups. So when you start a project, you say that you're initiating a project. So you do all the groundwork, basically you set an objective and do all the necessary formalities to obtain various permissions and various approvals and sanctions, and that has around a weightage of 13%. Then there is 24% weightage for the planning that you have to do before you will start the work. So when you start the work and do the work, actually you call it execution, and execution has around 30% weightage in the number of the questions. And monitoring and controlling is something which happens side by side along with the execution, and this has got a weightage of 25%, and 8% weightage is for the closing process, so which you do so that you have a neat closure of all the project, and you have a successful project delivery. So the examination is 4-hour duration, and the knowledge is tested for the 5 process groups that you've seen in the previous slide. That is for the initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So there are 200 multiple choice questions, and always keep in mind that this is mutually exclusive answer. So there are no multiple selections on the answer. You can only select only one answer. So there are 4 multiple choices, and out of that you have to select one correct answer. So there would be a mix of 25 pilot questions. So these questions are there basically to ensure newer questions for the future exams, and so as to maintain the challenge of the examination, so that the people, they understand the concepts before they get the answers right. And they're testing the quality of the questions through the 25 pilot questions, but you won't be aware. They won't be marked separately, so they'll be mixed within the 200. So this is for your information. And the question that you will get, those 200 questions that you will get, they will come from a huge question bank. So they will be randomly generated for you, and you will have to answer them within the 140 minutes. So no two people sitting even next to each other, they will get the same set of questions. So this is a rating based system, which means that you will be rated that whether you are not proficient, or whether you are not proficient, moderately proficient, or proficient. So there is no marks mentioned in any of your certificate. Okay, so just like you get a car driving license where your marks are not mentioned, so what you get is a driving license, so that it gives a confidence that you can drive the car safely. Okay, and there is no negative marking here. So if you get a question right, you get the mark. If you don't answer the question, or if you answer it incorrectly, you don't get the marks, but no marks are deducted at all. So this is what the intermediate result would look like. When you go to the center, take the test. So this is the intermediate result printout which you will get. So as you can see here that initiating the project, moderately proficient. Okay, so planning the project, proficient, which is better than moderately proficient, and proficient in execution, proficient in monitoring, and closing the project moderately. So the result is pass. So here, if you have moderately proficient or proficient in all the 5 process groups, your result will be pass. If you fail in any one of these, so you will see not proficient. So if you get any not proficient in even in any of the 5 domains or the process group, the examination result would be fail. So it means that you have to pass, you have to be at least moderately proficient in all the domain here or the process group, so as to pass the certification. Okay, let's go further. So PMP questions types, they are scenario based, and sometimes you will have some questions situational, and some of the questions will have a network diagram, so as you will have to do some mathematical calculation on that, and you will have to use formulas in computing to do that. So there would be certain questions in which there will be one of the answer will be having an exception, or you will have in some of the questions you will have 4 answers, and out of the 4 you will find that 2 answers are very likely, and then you will have to find the one correct answer for which you are going to get the mark. And once again, this is a reminder, there is no penalty for wrong answer. So about this training, so this training has about 15 modules, Introduction to PMP Certification course, which we are doing right now. Then we will move to the project framework, and there are process groups. So there are 10 knowledge areas and the 5 process groups. And so the knowledge areas are integration, scope, time, cost, quality, human resource, communication, risk management, procurements, and stakeholder management. And under these are the 5 process groups. So basically the 5 process groups, you can visualize them as the columns, and these are the rows, and within the matrix formed by this 5 process groups and the 10 knowledge areas, you have got 47 processes. Then at the end of this processes, you will also learn about professional and social responsibility as a project manager, and then I will discuss some PMP examination tips and tricks. So this training will have 35 contact hours. So this enables you to make a claim for PMI's 35-hour training requirement to ensure the quality and understanding of the PMI's processes, and you will need a project experience of around 4,500 hours combined with a graduation certificate, okay? Or if you have something which is lesser than a graduation, so that would be a high school or a diploma, then you would need around 7,500 hours of project work to qualify for the certification exam. So application exam with payment can be submitted online. So after your application is accepted, PMI will send electronic notification giving you a go ahead, and you can book your slot at the Prometric, and you will have to take the exam within 1 year of the go ahead. So this is something that I will explain to you after the training. And okay, now let us understand what is PMBOK. So basically it expands to project management body of knowledge. So this body of knowledge is something which has been acquired and researched over by many working project managers, those who have worked before us. So it's not a book, it's a BOK, B-O-K. So that is the body of knowledge. So it has got the knowledge which has been acquired by studying hundreds of thousands of projects for their successes, for their failures, for their common attributes, so that the future project managers, they have a more sure way and processes to base upon for the future project planning and the project management. So it is the sum of knowledge within the profession of the project management. It includes widely applied practices and the innovations which have been made till date, and it is constantly evolving. So right now, as we are going through this training, so there are people at PMI, those who are researching the facts on the current projects, statistics, information. They are looking at the failures. They are trying to make sure that they understand the nature of the projects better than ever better than before, and they come up with something that will work much better and better for the future project managers. So it is constantly evolving in that sense. The knowledge and practices that are applicable to most projects. So most of the projects, whether in any industry, they have certain similar attributes which we'll know in a while. So PMBOK is used as a reference for professional development programs by the project management professionals. So the current version is PMBOK 5, and this is how it looks as it has evolved. So it started with 37 processes. Then in the second edition, there were 39 processes, and as you can see, if you go down, you can see that how these processes, the number of processes, they are broken across the knowledge areas and the process groups. So they all add up to 39. So basically, if you look at this, say the version, the evolution from third to fourth, so you will see that certain processes were removed, so it is now 42. So in the fifth edition, so there are around 47 processes, right? So it is now having one more knowledge area, that is the stakeholder management, as you can see, which has got around 4 processes. Okay, now before we go to the project management, we have to understand the nature of the project. So whenever we start a project, so before we start the project, so basically we have to set goals, we have to plan, we have to manage, we have to monitor, we have to deliver, and we have to properly close all the project work that we initiated or we started or whatever we executed. So basically if we don't plan, so as you can see in this graphic, it says when you don't know where you are going, any road will get you there, so that is disaster. I mean, that is, you'll end up in a very wrong place at the wrong time. So the idea is that you should know that where you are trying to go. So you should plan it well so that you can reach the right place and you can achieve whatever is the objective of the project. So there is a simple question from my side, that are you managing the project or is the project managing you? So what kind of a manager you are? Are you in control of the project, or it is the project which is determining when you leave office or when you come to the office? So it is something where you feel that it is the project which is coming up with different kind of problems, and you have to run after each of the problem, or you have to do a lot of firefighting here and there. So those are the times when you really can start feeling that the project is starting to manage your time. So if that happens, so then you will have to acquire certain knowledge to be in control of this situation so that you can start managing the project. So we have to understand that what is a project. So basically we have to understand the fact that the projects are undertaken to achieve an objective. We always have an objective in mind before we start a project. For example, if you look at the project like the Pulse Polio, so it has an objective. The objective is to eradicate the polio virus from the population of the entire country. So when this objective is achieved, the project is said to be successful. So before you start a project, you should be clear about the objective. So as per the standard PMI definition, it is temporary endeavor. So temporary, why is it temporary? So because a project would naturally terminate when its objective is achieved. So it's not something which will go on and on. So a project can have a very long duration. Just like in Delhi, we have a Delhi Metro projects which is going on. So when all the tracks in the Delhi and adjoining National Capital Region are achieved, the project will come to an end. A project can be long. So it means that it might take around 20 years to achieve that, but it is temporary because it has to achieve the objective. Okay, then what it creates is a unique product, service, or result. So if you can give me some example, that would be great. So if you have any understanding of the project happening around you, so basically if you look around yourself, you might see some flyover under construction, maybe some bridge, some shopping mall, some building or residential complex or commercial complex coming up in the neighborhood. So you know, all those are the projects. So maybe if you look at the various companies, like the mobile companies these days, they are coming up with new mobile models. So basically what's happening behind the scenes is project management. So they have an objective to achieve, to come up with the latest product or the service. So they are planning it like a project and they are delivering as per the objective. So the objective is basically to achieve a better product priced lower so that to have a greater market share. So the projects are undertaken for the purposes of solving a problem. Metro rail solves a problem. If you have a flyover constructed, so that solves a problem. Then the projects are undertaken for the purposes of business. Like if you construct a shopping mall, so basically the objective is to have a business service or a product created, or if you have a, say, a new mobile phone or a new software come up, so that's a project which is undertaken for purposes of achieving some business goal. So just like a movie, a new movie which comes up, it's also the result of a project. So that achieves a business goal. The projects are undertaken for the social cause also. So just like your Pulse Polio program or educational programs which are run by the governments targeting a specific population group, so they would be also a project. So what are the attributes of a project? First of all, as we have understood, projects they are temporary in nature. Projects can have long durations, but those are temporary. Why? Because the projects have to achieve an objective. The objective can take time, but once it is achieved, the project is finished. The projects, they have a definite start and finish date. So because we need to plan for all the work, so definitely if they are temporary, if they are going to end, so we have a definite start and finish dates. Okay, then the projects create a product or a service or a solution which is unique, and projects also have something called progressive elaboration. So it means that in the bigger projects where all the details are not possible, so projects, we understand they are temporary, operations are ongoing and repetitive. So examples of operations are like, if you are going to a movie hall, you will find a person on the ticket window who is doing the job year after year. So you will see him for a very long time there. So he is basically selling the movie tickets throughout the day, whenever the duration for which the movie theater is open, and he is doing that day after day, week after week, and month after month. So the movies are changing. So movies are basically the product of the projects, and the operations, they are selling the movie tickets. Okay, and product of operations is replication or repetition. For example, that if you have designed a new car, so basically the car company will use a project management technique to produce the new car model, and then it will pass it over to the production team or the operations team to repeatedly mass produce the newly developed model. So the operations, they maintain current business. So as you can understand that by the selling of the movie ticket, the revenue generated is basically maintaining the business, and projects are undertaken to realize a strategic plan. A strategic plan could be a new product, right? And these are the project versus operation points you should keep in mind, that operations produce the same product until the product becomes obsolete and goes into divestment. The classic example is the Maruti car, so which was the result of a project that what should be the common man's car, and then it was around for a many long years, and then the product itself became obsolete and goes into divestment. So within the life cycle of a product, projects can intersect with operations at various points. Like if you have a product which is a very popular product, then after some, you will see there is an version of the intersection. So what happens? So it undertakes that newer version, the development of the newer version as a project, and it develops the version and passes it on back to the production team. Okay, then project could be also undertaken to expand outputs, like if you have a, say, LPG bottling plant, so it is producing the LPG bottles. So after many years, as per the increased demand from the market, you might undertake a project to expand the outputs. At each closeout phase or until divestment of the product, there can be many projects. So there can be many projects to improve the projects, I mean the products or the service, till the whole thing is outdated or out of fashion. So the operations, basically they are transferring knowledge to the project team, and the project team at the end of development of the product or the service is transferring the knowledge to the production team so that they can effectively use the product of the project. Okay, so this is how it happens. Transfer of project resources to operations towards the end of the project, or transfer of operational resources to the project at the start. So before a new version of the product can be achieved, so basically the operational team, so they will transfer certain resources like knowledge or people to the project team so that the newer version can be achieved, and at the end of the project, the knowledge and along with the improved version of the product is transferred to the So project has another characteristic, that is progressive elaboration. So when you start a project, our knowledge could be at the level 0. So this level is basically something which is the objective of the project, so which we have to achieve, and we design and we determine the hardware which is needed, we determine the software specification, then fabrication and site operations, purchase, and then we divide the, we progressively elaborate from level 1 to the level 2. So as you can see here, the basic divide The design is expanded into design and the drawings. Hardware is expanded into design of the hardware and the drawings of the hardware. And software specification at this point doesn't need any expansion, so the fabrication part definitely it needs, it has a part A and part B. And in the level 3, as we can see, the part A is expanded into assembly U and assembly, then test W, so then as assembly V and test X. So these are the progressively elaborated details of the project as we move into the project. So basically, if you look at the nature of the project, so they have a high level knowledge in the beginning, say for the time, say for the objective, say for the constraints like the cost. So these are the very high level knowledge. So as we go into the details, as we are trying to do a detailed planning, so our knowledge about the project increases, and we can divide the project into phases to put some details into the parts of the project which have to be executed in the near term. Say if I have a project which has a total lump sum duration of say 5 years, I can divide it into 5 phases. I will plan out the details of the phase 1, that is the first year, in too much details, and then before the first year plan runs out, I will have much more detailed planning for the phase 2. So that will be coming from a greater understanding through the work done during the phase 1. So that is what is called progressive elaboration. So the distinguished characteristics of progressive elaboration are, these are broadly defined early in the project. Then they become more explicitly and detailed as the project progresses. Then the project team begins to grasp them better. And if you look at project management, this is the context. So the project is basically part of a program. Program is multiple project management, so which are strategically bunched together to have an advantage which is not possible to have if you are executing the projects individually. So if you bunch them together, it gives an advantage. Then they are part of a portfolio, so which have a sort of projects which belong to the similar line of business, and then line of business is part of the strategic plan of an organization. And projects can basically, they have a sub-project. If you outsource some part of the work to your vendors or subcontractors, so that can be termed as a sub-project. So sometimes the sub-projects are also created basically to get some specialized part of the project work done by a different team also within the same organization. Now program, it is a group of interrelated projects managed in a coordinated way to obtain benefits which is not available from managing individually. So just like I say, space program. So what happens that in a space program there are multiple projects. So one of the projects could be say launching a satellite for the weather forecast. So there could be another project to launch a satellite for the ground for the communication purposes. There could be another project to launch satellite for the geophysical mapping, for the terrain mapping. So there could be another satellite launched for especially for the military purposes. Okay, all those, when they are done together, they give an advantage, because any kind of research and development which happens in these projects, so basically they benefit each other. There is a lot of advantage in sharing the knowledge and resources as well, the people, and sometimes the materials, sometimes the design and the drawing. So the program helps a lot. If you have multiple projects for different purposes happening at the same time of the work to meet strategic business of the decision making to happen quickly. So what basically for applying your knowledge of your domain and knowledge of the project management skills, tools and techniques to meet project objectives. So when we say knowledge, skills, tools and techniques, so basically see these are applying both from the domain and from the project management as well. So this is accomplished through application of process groups like initiating, planning, satisfy the needs of and meet the objective for which the project was undertaken. So that is called the quality. So you have to make sure that you understand the constraints of quality. Sometimes the quality is the main objective. So you might need to expand the work, you might need to expand the money, you might need to expand the time, you might need to expand your budget. So the quality has to be achieved. So you got to understand that constraint. Schedule is the time limit. So sometimes you have projects in which there is a lot of work to be done in little time. as compared to the objective. So then there is budget. So budget is for the money, resources. Resources could be people and material. This is a project manager's role. You have to understand that the project management has to be implemented by the project manager. So when you become the project manager, you have to make sure that you understand that what is the kind of role you are in. So if you understand your role, then you will be able to understand the context of the project management. That why does this person or this project manager needs the project management? Because he's in a particular role, and in this role you can visualize yourself that you are, say, juggling 3 balls of time, cost and scope, and you are standing in the middle of a triangle which is called the quality. So you can visualize yourself doing this. You are trying to make sure that you can achieve, or you can achieve the job done through your team members, and you have to ensure that you are having very good understanding and communication with the client. So you need very good knowledge as well, knowledge of project management, knowledge of the domain, technical knowledge as well. And then you have to get all the things and get them performed in time. So you have to have good performance regarding the work also. So this is the project manager's role. So basic idea of a project management role is to achieve the objective of the project within the constraints with the additional qualities of knowledge, interpersonal skills and good performance. So this is what the role needs to be done. So basically the project manager is responsible for the overall accomplishment. If you increase the scope of a project, it has an impact on the time and the cost. If you got to do more work, then you got to expand the time, you got to expand the cost, you will have to do more risk management before if you add more work, then it will come with additional risk. So a project manager understands that when one knowledge area changes, it has a impact on the other knowledge areas. So you have to determine that, and you have to determine to the extent to which it will have those changes, and you have to make sure that the project is integral at all the times. The role of the project manager comprises many responsibilities, including as being listed here but not limited to this. So you have to, say, stopping the project work or having some sort of impact on the project work. Risk analysis you have to do so that you can prepare for the risk well in advance, or you can take some mitigative action. You will have to do the documentation, you will have to do strategic influencing, and you have to do your activity planning and sequencing. Then you have to develop the schedules, you have to do cost estimation, you have to control the quality, you have to create charts and schedules, you have to create customer liaison, you have to do customer liaison, and you have to apply team leadership as well. Okay, so these are the role you have to keep in mind. And the role of a project manager is basically is also aided by the organization. Then comes the metrics. Metrics has got 3 kind of matrices where he's sharing or with the functional manager. So functional manager is another person so who is having a specialized functionality. So he could be a subject matter expert, he could be a say an expert on design or research on development. So you know you will be sharing your powers with this guy. So in a strong matrix organization you will be more powerful than him, so you'll have more say on the projects than him. In balanced matrix, the power sharing between you for achieving the objective in a project manager who is specialized in a department or function. And project manager is an individual who is responsible for managing the project. Okay, and a functional manager is responsible for one of the principal elements of the organization. A project manager is responsible for the whole project and each phase. Okay, each functional manager tends to emphasize his own function. So basically he will have some specialization like design, research, development. So project manager is the person responsible for accomplishing the project objectives within the constraints of the project. So he is the person who is basically trying to achieve the objective of the project, and project manager is involved in planning, controlling and monitoring the work, total work to be done in the project, and he has to manage the project resources and he has to achieve the project objective in the given constraint.